Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, prepare yourselves as we delve deep into Tejano music, its history, its future. You will hear the oldies but goodies, the newies but gooies, and everything in between. My name is Rick Garcia, and I will be your host on this 60-minute musical journey. So let's hear all the great songs by the great artists who made them famous, and a little bit of history behind each song. After all, I was there. Well, greetings again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Rick Garcia Hour, right here at MCR Radio. And as always, I want to thank the good people at MCR for airing this podcast and making it available to all of their affiliates worldwide. Makes me feel good to get feedback when people say they heard my show in Florida or in Arizona. And one message I got that they heard this show in Seattle, Washington. So thank you for writing in. Want to let you all know you can contact me at my official Facebook site, Rick Garcia Official. Drop me a message and let me know what you think of the Rick Garcia Hour on MCR Radio. Of course, I generally use this platform to promote my new label, CHR Records. But if you listened to last week, you heard me talk about a list that was put on social media. A list of what was, in somebody's opinion, the 55 best Tejano groups or artists of all time. I enjoyed reading the list. It was a good list, but it sure sparked a lot of conversation and a little bit of controversy. People saying like, oh, you can't have a list without so-and-so, or this list needs so-and-so, or whoever heard of so-and-so, kind of stuff like that. So as I read the list, it dawned on me, geez, I'd like a list too. So last week's show was all about my list. And rather than say my list, let me just say my heroes. Over the past 5 decades, I have worked with the best and the most talented musicians in the universe. And I grabbed a handful and played them last week in no particular order. But the problem was I went well over my hour. And so I thought, well, I'll need to do a part 2. So that is what this show is going to be about. A continuation of my list, or as I'd rather say, my heroes. And again, this is in no particular order. And it's not to say that these are my only heroes, my gracious. If I played every Tejano or Conjunto superstar that I've worked with over the past 5 decades and that I've learned something from, this would be like a 24-hour show. So I'm going to narrow it down, try to stay within my 60-minute time limit, play the music of my heroes, and tell a little bit of the history about each one of them. Last week you heard me talk about the group La Movida, headed up by Ricky Smith. And what a great group that was. When a label that I co-founded, Hacienda Records, started in 1979, they were among the first artists to be on board. And I spoke a little bit last week about the association between myself and Pio Trevino and Ricky Smith and how the association came about where Pio became their lead singer. And what a successful series of albums that they had. Now, like many lead vocalists, Pio Trevino decided to form his own group and do his own thing with his own style of music. La Movida, of course, continued on. Their vocalist became Ruben Botello, and they continued their string of hits. But I want to talk about Pio Trevino right now. He and I had already had a great friendship from the De La Rosa days when he was lead singer for Sangre Chicana. And so when he left Movida and said that he wanted to start his own band, he said that he was thinking of a name for the group, and he asked me to think of a name also. So I happened to be grocery shopping over at an Albertsons store in Corpus Christi, and I don't know why I found myself at the perfume aisle. I think I went down the wrong aisle. I generally don't go by the women's perfumes, but anyway, I saw a perfume called Magia, and I thought, that's a good name, Magia. And so I called Pio Trevino a couple of days later, and I said, Pio, what do you think of the name Magia? And he said, well, it's okay, but it sounds too much like Mafia. They're going to think that I'm La Mafia. And he said, but I like Magia. Why don't we just say it by the English name and say Magic? And wow, that's a great idea. Okay, well, let's do something different. Let's go ahead and spell it differently like all the groups do. Like, Grupo Mas, it's not M-A-S, it's M-A-Z-Z. So if we say Magic, let's say M-A-J-I-C. Instead of the usual spelling. And he said, yes, bingo. So there it was. The concept of magic was born. Pio Trevino y Magic. Next came the idea of getting the first single. How are we going to premiere and debut Pio Trevino y Magic? Well, it just so happened that a songwriter with a string of hits at that time by the name of Luis Silva had just pitched me a whole bunch of songs. He had written songs for Grupo Mas and La Mafia and Laura Canales and different people like that. He was a songwriter for Bob Griever's publishing company, Golden Sands, at the time. So one of the songs that Luis Silva pitched to me happened to be an interesting song about a guy who loses his love and he's all depressed and down and his girlfriend left him and he doesn't know what to do. And all of a sudden, walking down the street, he sees a men's magazine. He starts thumbing through it, and lo and behold, there is his girlfriend. But as it would be, there she was, not wearing nothing on but her birthday suit. I do not know if that's a true story or not, but it sure did make a doggone good song. It was pretty daring at the time to do a song about a naked lady. But Pio Trevino liked it. He did it. He recorded it. It was our first single for Pio Trevino and his new group Magic. So here is the song. Now it's a blast from the past, but at that time it was brand new and very, very daring. The song is called El Magazine. Check it out.
Magazine que yo nunca compraba, no pude yo creer lo que en él yo encontraba. Qué sorpresa llevé, ese libro que yo hojeaba, la mujer que yo amé, la mujer que yo amé estaba retratada. Se acababa, no pude yo creer lo que en él presenciaba, en donde fui a quedar, la que era mi adorada, la mujer que yo amé, la mujer que yo amé, estaba retratada en un magazine. Yo me la encontré y no traía nada. En un magazine yo me la encontré, estaba retratada. En un magazine yo me la encontré y no traía nada. Y en el magazine donde la encontré, mis lágrimas rodaban. Ese magazine no quise ya mirarla, no pude resistir el llanto que me ahogaba desde que la perdí. Jamás yo supe de ella, la mujer que yo amé, la mujer que yo amé estaba retratada. Yo me la encontré y no traía nada. En un magazine yo me la encontré, estaba retratada. En un magazine yo me la encontré y no traía nada. Y en el magazine donde la encontré, mis lágrimas rodaban. Ay, amor.
Mr. Pio Trevino y Grupo Magic, la canción El Magazine. And I am proud to say that Pio Trevino is still going strong. Recently signed with Freddie Records. Congratulations to Pio Trevino. That's an excellent record label. And Freddie Records just celebrated their 50th year in business. Wow. They have certainly stood the test of time. Now let's bounce back to 1979, 1980 one more time. Going back to the Hacienda years, I also said last week how when Hacienda first started, we agreed that was going to be a portal for new artists trying to establish themselves in this business. And of course, we had some established artists come in right at the beginning as well. But amongst the new artists was a young guy from Eagle Pass by the name of Gary Hobbs. What a talent he was, and still is. And I'm proud to say he came through the doorsteps of Hacienda Records into what he is today, one of Tejano's biggest superstars and one of my personal heroes. So here is Gary Hobbs with a song from the golden age of Tejano called Contigo Aprendí.
Conocer un mundo nuevo de ilusiones. Contigo aprendí que tu cariño no la cambio por traiciones. Aprendí que la semana tiene más de 7 días. Al ser contadas mis mayores alegrías, y así dichoso yo contigo las viví. Conocer el otro lado de la luna. Contigo aprendí que tu cariño no la cambio por ninguna. Aprendí que puedo un beso ser más dulce y más profundo, que puedo irme mañana mismo de este mundo. Las cosas buenas ya contigo las viví. Aprendí que yo nací el día en que te conocí. Profundo, que puedo irme mañana mismo de este mundo. Las cosas buenas ya contigo las viví. Contigo aprendí que yo nací el día en que te conocí.
Mr. Gary Hobbs from the Hacienda days around 1980 or 81, somewhere in there. Now, you know, I don't understand this about Gary because I see him often. The man looks exactly the same. He has not aged a day. Now, for me, I lost all my hair. I got fat. I got ugly. But Gary Hobbs is still the sharp-looking dude that he always was. I don't know how he does it. He must be caught in a time warp or something. Up next, we're going to change it up just a little bit. Still one of my heroes. I have so much respect for this man. They call him the Dancing Cowboy. He did a translation in the late 70s of a Johnny Cash song called Ring of Fire. And the Dancing Cowboy, Mingo Zaldívar, called it Rueda de Fuego. It was originally released on the Espada label in 1979 and later reissued on Hacienda, I think a year later or so. What a great song, so creative. Check out Mingo Zaldívar, the Dancing Cowboy, Rueda de Fuego.
llama de fuego la que me alcanzó. He caído y salir jamás no puedo. Me has rendido en tu rueda de fuego. Ay, amor, dame tu calor, dame tu calor. Dulce es el sabor que me dan tus labios, dulce corazón. Tu amor ya me enloqueció, fue tu rueda de fuego la que me empujó. He caído y salir jamás no puedo, me has rendido en tu rueda de fuego. Ay, amor, dame tu calor, dame tu calor. Es el sabor que me dan tus labios, dulce corazón. Tu amor ya me enloqueció, fue tu rueda de fuego la que me empujó. He caído y salir jamás no puedo, me has rendido. Ay, amor, dame tu calor, dame tu calor, dame tu calor, dame tu calor.
Such a popular performer, Mingo Zaldívar, Rueda de Fuego. You know, when Mingo performs in Mexico, they call it Mingomania. That is kind of spinned off to the United States as well. I have not had the honor of seeing Mingo in several years since he was inducted into a Walk of Fame in Corpus Christi, Texas several years ago, but I stay in touch through his daughter. And I know Mingo has had some health issues, but from what I understand, he is doing fine, and we wish him hundreds of more years of successful music making. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Rick Garcia Hour on MCR Radio. And this is a part 2 edition of Rick's Heroes, Rick's Favorites. The good people I have worked with and have so much respect for over the past 5 decades. Another group going way back, all the way to, I believe it was 1974 or 75. Gosh, I delve in the 70s a lot. That was the decade where it all started for me. That was where a young 15-year-old Rick Garcia got his start at Studio B at 1316 North Chaparral in Corpus Christi. That studio was owned by Freddie Martinez at the time. I met my mentor, Tony De La Rosa, at that studio. And I met so many other great musicians, great pioneers, great performers, including this next group right now. They were on the Freddie label when I met them. The group is Conjunto Bernal, at that time headed up by Eloy Bernal. I believe Paulino had already entered into the gospel world, but Eloy and his band were still doing a lot of secular music at the time, and I had the honor of engineering the album called Mi Mundo Feliz. And that's the name of the lead single from that album, so let's check it out right now. The late, great Eloy Bernal, la canción Mi Mundo Feliz.
Cuando quieras volver a vivir, en el fondo de mí hallarás ilusiones. Cuando quieras que borre de ti el recuerdo infeliz de tus tus viejos errores. Ven conmigo a mi mundo feliz, donde puedas seguir otros rumbos mejores. Qué tristeza me causa mirar que no puedas lograr lo que tanto has soñado, y que vagas sin rumbo por ahí, sin poder olvidar ese amor fracasado. Cuando quieras que borre de ti el recuerdo infeliz de tus viejos errores, ven conmigo a mi mundo feliz, donde puedas seguir otros rumbos mejores. Qué tristeza me causa mirar que no puedas lograr lo que tanto has soñado, y que vagas sin rumbo por ahí, sin poder olvidar ese amor fracasado. Cuando quieras que borre de ti el recuerdo infeliz de tus viejos errores, ven conmigo a mi mundo feliz, donde puedas seguir otros rumbos mejores.
The world-famous Conjunto Bernal with one of their many, many hits. That one was called Mi Mundo Feliz, originally released on Freddie Records back around 1974-75, with a very young Rick Garcia as engineer on that project. It was actually at that recording session where I met a young man by the name of Jesse Serrata. I believe he was one of the vocalists in Conjunto Bernal at that time. Later on, as years went by, I got a chance to reunite with Jesse and his brother Rene. Together as Los Buenos, they did a string of hits for Hacienda Records. That is certainly worth notating and talking about. They had some really good songs. And I'll tell you what, I really struck up a great friendship with Jesse. Just a very down-to-earth guy. And I was so sorry to hear of his passing not too long ago. We did a number of solo albums with Jesse during the Hacienda years, and even one on his daughter Brandy B. Serrata. I need to look up one of those songs for a future show. But right now, let me play a song from Jesse Serrata. He is one of my favorites, one of my heroes, and he certainly does make my hero list. This is a song that he wrote, released on Hacienda Records back in, I believe probably the early 2000s. It's called La Tejanita. Check it out.
Oye, Tejanita, yo te invito al baile. Oye, Tejanita, te invito a bailar. Ya llegó mi David con todas las chulas. Esta noche entera vamos a gozar. Óigame mi chula, tráigame unos hielos, una Coca-Cola y un poco de ron, un poco de whisky y también tequila. Esta noche entera vamos a gozar. Me encontré a la prima con sus camaradas y traía una güera que a mí me gustó. Y nomás pa' pronto ella me dio la mano y los fuimos recio al medio del salón. Oh, baby. Y me preguntaron quién está tocando. Es la nueva onda, la que va a empezar. Con esos muchachos no más puro por él. Con esos muchachos voy a vacilar. Me encontré a la prima con sus camaradas y traía una güera que a mí me gustó. Y no más pa' pronto ella me dio la mano y los fuimos recio al medio del salón. ¡Ay, chorreada! ¡No, baby!
The unmistakable voice of Mr. Jesse Serrata, la canción La Tejanita. Original composition by Jesse himself. We sure do miss him. What a great talent he was. And his music will live forever. Now, another gentleman that crossed my path, very briefly, but he was and always will be a legend. I met up with his son at this past TTMA fanfare, Mr. Rick Valderrama. And I'm talking about Rick's dad, Henry Valderrama. I had a chance to work with Henry during the golden years of Tejano at Hacienda Records, and Henry recorded just a tremendous album. His son, Rick Valderrama, reminded me that the very, very young Rick Valderrama was actually on that album, but he was such a youngster at the time, I hardly remembered the grown man that he is now. So again, from way back in the past, check out something from the golden age of Tejano. Big band, great brass section and all. It's Henry Valderrama. The song is called La Historia de mi Vida.
La historia de mi vida se repite. No puedo comprender yo la razón. Hoy vuelvo yo a sufrir sin esperanza, con ninguna, por un amor. Por un amor. Ayer yo fui feliz, fuiste mi encanto. Mi vida se ha convertido en llanto. Mi vida está sangrando, estoy muriendo de dolor. Por un amor, por un amor. Pero yo ya viví la misma historia tantas veces que fuera fácil para mí, para olvidar y no sufrir. Pero esta siento perder, como tantas veces no he sentido. Sentí llegar la soledad, siento aquí en mí la decepción. Siento perder mi corazón por un amor. Ya viví la misma historia tantas veces que fuera fácil para mí, para olvidar y no sufrir. Pero esta vez siento perder, como tantas veces no he sentido. Sentí llegar la soledad, siento aquí en mí la decepción. Siento perder mi corazón por un amor.
the late great Henry Valderrama. That song was called La Historia de mi Vida from his Hacienda CD Deja Vu. I am so proud of his son, Rick Valderrama, for carrying on the tradition. It's always great to see second and third generation performers carrying on what their parents and grandparents have started. For those just tuning in, you're listening to the Rick Garcia Hour on MCR Radio. And again, a big thank you to MCR for broadcasting my podcast, not only on their station, but also making it available to a host of other digital platforms throughout the world. Thank you big time, MCR Radio. I was talking last week and again this week about a list of who's who of the best Tejano singers of all time, or Tejano groups or entertainers, I guess. And of course, what a great way to stir up conversation and a little bit of controversy. It's just living, breathing proof that Tejano is alive and well, because it really spawned a lot of passion about Tejano artists. And so I thought, well, since I've got a platform to broadcast my favorites, and I've been in the business for like 5 decades, I'm going to do a list, but I'm not going to call it a list. I'm just going to call it my heroes, my idols, the guys that truly influenced me and continue to just amaze me with their talents. Some of the performers are no longer with us, but their music lives on, and some of the performers are still with us to this day. Some actually go way, 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 way back, like this next artist. And I cannot take credit at all for any of his original works, because it was done when I was just a little child. But I had the honor and privilege to meet him and to work with him and to recut some of his old classics. I'm talking about Rene Ornelas, who had a group called Rene and Rene. Now, this guy is so special, Rene Ornelas. He and Rene Herrera, the original other Rene, were one of the first groups to actually cross over from the Latin into the English market. They had such a huge success with some of their early recordings like Angelito and the one I'm going to play right now, Lo Mucho Que Te Quiero. So when I met Rene Ornelas back in the early 80s, it seemed only natural that if we were going to record together, we go back and redo some of those old classics with the modern technology that exists today. They didn't have all that back in like 1961 or whenever it was when Rene originally did it. But some of that old footage can still be seen from American Bandstand and some of those old early shows on YouTube. He is a great entertainer, a gentleman, and one of the most humblest men I've ever met. Here is Rene Ornelas with a re-recording of his classic Lo Mucho Que Te Quiero. Check it out, Rene and Rene.
Vida mía, lo mucho que te quiero y que te adoro. Tú vives en mi pensamiento y ahora me arrepiento si yo te hice llorar. Yo nunca te hablo a ti con la mentira. Te hablo a ti con la verdad. Quisiera que olvides el pasado, que vuelvas a mi lado, que tengas compasión. pensamiento y ahora me arrepiento si yo te hice llorar. Believe me when I say how much I love you. Believe me when I say how much I care. Forgive me, give me peace of mind. All I need is time to prove my love for you. Tú vives en mi pensamiento y ahora me arrepiento si yo te hice llorar.
That is a song that you can still hear on any golden oldie radio station today, whether it's English or Spanish. What a great crossover song, Rene and Rene, Lo Mucho Que Te Quiero. And as I said before the song, I had the honor of meeting Rene because actually I chose a song that he'd written called Dices Que Me Dejas. I chose that for Lisa Lopez, and it was part of her album Si Quieres Verme Orar. And that led to me meeting up with Rene's publisher, Milt Lance from Pecos Music. And then Milt introduced me to Rene, and then that led into some recording, which led into the re-recording of some of his early classics, like the one you just heard, Lo Mucho Que Te Quiero. Now we're going to change up the style and the pace just a little bit. Actually, quite a bit. On this next song, anyway. This is one of my current heroes. I've known this man for a long time, and he is still going strong. He is not only a great entertainer, but he's just his own unique personality. There's not another like him. He is so original, and he certainly marches to the beat of his own drum, no doubt about that. He's commonly referred to as the Conjunto Gangsta, and when I say that, you know immediately I'm talking about Mr. Boni Mauricio, el Jimmy Hoffa de nosotros. He did a rendition of a song that has become his trademark. It's called Me Importa Madre. In a world where people sing all these tender love songs about don't ever leave me and my heart belongs only to you and I can't live a day without you and little heartfelt songs like that, Boni Mauricio boldly stepped up to the plate and proclaimed loud and clear, Me Importa Madre. Now, some people take great offense to that, and I guess we can ride on the First Amendment, free speech. It's not meant to degrade or to demean or anything like that. It's simply a statement, and nobody makes that statement like Boni Mauricio. Now, certain other groups have done this song, like Los Pavo Reales, like Los Hermanos Farias, and it actually got radio airplay, believe it or not, in spite of the tough lyric. But I was amazed at how many terrestrial radio stations would not play this song when it was released by Boni Mauricio. So I asked a couple of program directors, I said, I don't get it, y'all play this song by other bands, but why not by Boni? And I did have one radio station owner say, no, I can't play it. Boni sings it like he means it. Well, he does just that. I know Boni Mauricio very, very well. He does not do or say anything that he does not mean. He can sing the most tenderest of love songs, or he can get down with the nitty-gritty and just say it like it is. And this is a song that does just that. So it's Boni Mauricio with what has become his theme song, and those who've ever attended his performance know that he has to play this song sometimes 2 or 3 times a night. The people just want it so badly. So check it out. We've got it right here on the Rick Garcia Hour. The song is called Me Importa Madre.
Me importa madre si tú ya no me quieras, que te diviertas con el güey que te quiera. Me importa madre si tú ya no me quieras. Madre, me importa si me quieras o no. Madre, me importa si me quieras o no. Dices que quieres que yo te perdone, porque quieres regresar conmigo. Yo ya no quiero tamales de chivo. Me vale madre si regresas o no. Madre, me importa si regresas o no. sales con quien quieras. Me importa, madre, si te vas o te quedas. Madre, me importa si te quedas o no. Madre, me importa si te quedas o no. Cuando te acuestas como un virgen. Luego amanece y ya no eres igual. Me dicen todos que estás bien acabada. No vales, madre, no vengas para atrás. No vales, madre, no vengas para atrás. El grito si te importa, pura madre.
A man who says it like it is and does it his way, Mr. Boni Mauricio. They call him the Conjunto Gangster. They call him the Jimmy Hoffa de Conjunto. But I call him a doggone good entertainer. It was actually Tony De La Rosa who told me, keep your eye on Boni. He's going to do some great things. They had a great relationship, and Boni often refers to Tony as his godfather, his padrino. Whether that's official or unofficial, I do not know, but I do know they had great respect for each other. Now, you just heard Boni Mauricio tell it like it is and sing it like it is. Up next is an artist that's a little bit more of a crooner, actually a lot more of a crooner. I call him the Bing Crosby, the Dean Martin de nosotros. He is Emilio Guerrero. The group is called Charo Band. Now, Emilio is still around with a version of Charo Band to this day. I've lost touch with him, but he certainly makes my list of heroes, no doubt about that. I was so amazed because I had never seen anybody so relaxed in the studio as Emilio was. He was smoking a cigarette, had a music stand in front of him, and he just calmly said, okay, I'm ready to record whenever you're ready. I said, okay. Generally, the singers are just a little bit nervous, a little bit fidgety, but he was so incredibly calm, and he delivered a great vocal performance, as he always does, on this and all the other songs he's recorded. I had the pleasure of working with him for Supremo Records and also Hacienda Records. Emilio Guerrero and Charo Band. This one's called El Desesperado.
Yo soy el desesperado, el que nunca te ha olvidado, el que nunca te quisiera dejar de querer. Yo soy el desesperado, casi un desgraciado, que me arrastra por el mundo porque quiere una mujer. Yo no sé si tú me quieres o tal vez me hayas querido, pero lo que sí te digo es que yo soy un hombre fiel. Tú siempre serás mi dueña, moriré por tu cariño y al salud de tu recuerdo me ha dejado de beber. Yo soy el desesperado, el que nunca te ha olvidado, el que nunca te quisiera dejar de querer. Yo soy el desesperado, casi un desgraciado, que me arrastra por el mundo porque quiere una mujer. Yo no sé si tú me quieres o tal vez me hayas querido, pero lo que sí te digo es que yo soy un hombre fiel. Tú siempre serás mi dueña, moriré por tu cariño y al salud de tu recuerdo me ha dejado de beber.
Emilio Guerrero, Charo Band, El Desesperado. What a great classic that was. Where were you when that song was number one? Chances are you might not have even been born yet. But the cool thing about music is it will live forever. A great song, a great artist, and a great performance will stand the test of time. That's what I'm playing here today. My idols, my heroes, the artists that I worked with a long time ago and have certainly stood the test of time. Some of them I'm still working with today. Like Boni Mauricio, whom you've heard right before, Charo Band. Boni has recently signed with my new label, CHR Records, and we're looking forward to producing just a whole string of new hits. But on this edition of the Rick Garcia Hour, I'm not going to talk too much about my new record label, CHR Records. I'm focusing more on the old days, my heroes, my idols, the guys who have inspired me for the past 5 decades. And when I talk about that, it's only natural that I talk about a label that I co-founded in 1979, Hacienda Records, and some of the great artists that passed through the doors of Hacienda. What a legacy that was during the golden age of Hacienda. We were blessed to have so many great artists come through the door, including this next group. They hailed from Houston, Texas. They were a big band group at the time, a great big horn section, a keyboard section, several vocalists. It would be hard to do that in today's economy, to maintain such a big group. I am not knocking anyone or anything, but I will tell you this, in all honesty. Sometimes people doing graduations or private parties or quinceañeras or things like that will find it easier just to hire a DJ than to hire a band. Now, granted, it's very good music, and I've seen some DJs that put on a heck of a good light show and pyro and the whole thing. But in my opinion, there's nothing like live music. So I encourage everyone to support and promote live music whenever you can. These guys work so hard. Whenever they show up on stage and perform, what you're literally seeing is hours and hours of preparation, of hard work, of practicing, of driving, of maintaining equipment, of maintaining vehicles. So much goes into being a band and being a traveling and touring band. And that's just what these next guys were. Now, unfortunately, we lost the lead singer not too long ago from this group. I'm referring to a band called Josefa. Some of them went on to become Aviso, but their music recorded at Hacienda will always be classic, just as this song will. It's called Tus Ojos Castaños. Check it out.
Que la distancia poquito a poco va matando el sentimiento. Dicen que un nuevo amor nos va quitando el viejo amor del pensamiento. Dicen tantas mentiras, pues la verdad es que hasta hoy estoy sufriendo. Ni mil amores, pues yo te sigo queriendo. Y yo no sé por qué me tienes hasta hoy y enamorado, embrujado con tus ojos castaños. Que tienen tus ojos castaños, que son mi tormento. Dime que tú me hiciste, si todo el mundo dice por qué no te olvido. Dime si es brujería, si es un castigo, dime qué hiciste conmigo. Todo me va pasando, mi juventud, mi esperanza, mi alegría. Pero mi pensamiento sigue parado en tus que tienen tus ojos castaños, que son mi tormento.
The classic music of Josefa, Tus Ojos Castaños. You're listening to the Rick Garcia Hour on MCR Radio and all of MCR's affiliates, as well as all of their digital platforms. Continuing on, and again, I'm going to run out of time here. But like I said earlier, if I played all of my heroes and all of my favorites and all of the people that have influenced me and that I have learned so much from over the past 5 decades of being in this business, I would be playing songs for like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There have been that many, and they've all been that instrumental in teaching me and helping me to learn this musical craft that I love so much. I do want to continue on with a family group. Now, when I worked with them, they were known as Los Hermanos Farias. They had been around. They were already legendary when I met them and when I began to work with them. We had a series of recordings during the Hacienda years, and I think it was shortly after that there was a time when Los Hermanos Farias were being interviewed at a radio station. Now, I was not there, so I'm relaying this kind of third person, but I did hear about it, and I do believe it. They were going into a radio station in San Antonio, and there were all the brothers, there was a whole bunch of people. And the DJ saw all those people just like a troop of people, and he said, "Ahí viene la tropa, la tropa F." And he coined that phrase right then and there, La Tropa F. It stuck with them, and for a number of years, they maintained that as their official name, La Tropa F. Now, I'm not sure if they're still going by that or they've gone back to Los Hermanos Farias, and I know some of the guys have gone on to solo careers. No doubt, it's a great family unit and incredibly talented as well. This next song is a song from what I call the golden age of Tejano. Los Hermanos Farias, la canción La Traicionera.
Recuerda que me juraste una pasión verdadera. Si tienes otro cariño, ¿por qué no me lo presentas? Hombrecito, arreglaremos las cuentas para que vivas con él. Ya que conmigo te afrentas. Soy de los hombres de esos que nunca se olvidan. No quiero amores a fuerza cuando ya no hay voluntad. Que me hablen con la purita verdad, no me andes sacando vueltas. Que no soy perro del mar.
Age of Tejano, that was La Tropa F, La Traicionera. Man, where does the time go? I don't know about you guys, but I have had a blast. I have such a good time sitting behind this microphone, playing my favorite songs, talking about my favorite artists, and my association with them. And I just have to say again, please do not think that I'm bragging about me at all as I talk about my association with these guys. I'm bragging about them. I'm bragging about their talents. I'm bragging about how lucky I am that I had a chance to be a part of their career. And by the grace of God, I still get a chance to do what I love to do every day of my life. I am literally the kid in the candy store, getting a chance to work with all these great talents and a whole string of new talents that we're signing up now with CHR Records. I'm going to close it out with a man who is just so very, very special to me. I would have to say, in addition to Tony De La Rosa, this man was also one of the ones who influenced me so much. Such a great and yet humble man. There was not an accolade that he did not receive during his career, and he had been recording all the way since the 1940s, all the way to his final album with Hacienda Records right shortly before his death. And I remember that a radio station was doing a concert in his honor. I'm talking about the late, great Valerio Longoria. I drove to San Antonio to be a part of it. Valerio was there. And that very humble, gentle man grabbed my arm and said, let's take a walk. And I don't remember exactly where the event took place, but it was nighttime. And there were little paths, so it must have been a park of some kind. He just told me how blessed he was to be a part of this business and the songs that he'd written and the songs that he had recorded. And it was just a one-on-one personal time. I'm going to get choked up just talking about it. But it is so cool when you actually meet the band behind the legend. That was the case with my association with such artists as Valerio Longoria, Tony De La Rosa, Freddie Fender, and others. Not only do I get to be a fan of their music, but I get a chance to really get to know the men and the ladies behind the music. So I'm going to say goodbye with this one. It's Valerio Longoria. The song is called Yo Tengo Celos de Ti. And I'll see you next time on the Rick Garcia Hour.
Yo tengo celos de ti. Es por tu amor tan profundo. Tu enamorada de mí. Sueño más bello del mundo. Yo te quiero con pasión, hallar tu corazón es la ilusión de mi vida. Tú no tienes corazón, anhelas la razón de estar tan comprometida. Ven, te quiero con pasión, hallar tu corazón es la ilusión de mi vida.
been listening to the Rick Garcia Hour on Mas Chingon Radio, MCR. Join us every week at the same time for another edition as we stroll up and down 5 decades of memories and making new ones at the same time. My name is Rick Garcia. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.